What's up guys, Trevor Hunter here with Dirt Bike Test. I'm a pro-level off-road desert Grand Prix racer, and today we are comparing all the 250F off-road race bikes. And kind of 2B on my list is the Kawasaki. Like I said, this is really close with the Honda, even with the Yamaha. The top three bikes were like really close to me. The Kawasaki I put third or 2B. The motor, I really like the motor. There's not a ton of bottom end and torque, but there's enough to get you by, and it's kind of too on the Kawasaki. It's very like aggressive, exciting motor. So the little bottom end and the power it has down low, it's very like kind of aggressive and kind of snappy. Whereas the Honda and the Honda's a little more smoother. But I like that kind of snappy power down low for most of the riding I do. Where that motor really shines up top, it really likes to be revved, and it revs really easily. Like I feel like it's natural to rev that bike. It kind of revs out quick too, which is nice. So it gets you into the meat of the power right away. Where some of the other bikes takes longer to rev and takes more work to get into that higher RPM range. Suspension, I really like the suspension on the Kawasaki. It's really good for kind of faster off-road racing. Not really trail riding or like technical maybe in the trees, but for faster West Coast conditions it handles really well. And the chassis is super stable. Cornering, it's a little front end light, and it's the same bike as last year, and when we put a bigger tank on, it helped the handling, or to me it helped the cornering a lot. Just put more emphasis, more weight on that front end, so it cornered better and handled a little better. Having a big tank on, so that's one little mod that could really help that bike and maybe put it over the Honda. Kawi, maybe something I don't like is the brake lever. The front brake lever is really not comfortable. It kind of makes me not want to use the front brake, which isn't ideal. And the rear brake, kind of same on the Honda too. Both the rear brakes are a little touchy, a little sensitive. I like the Yamaha the rear brake is a little more, I have a little bit of feel for it. So it won't lock the rear wheel up quite as much. Kawasaki kind of some downsides, or it doesn't come with a big tank. The skid plate isn't off-road ready, I would say, and it's just kind of the on-the-fly mapping isn't there. You got to change couplers, so that kind of sets it back just a tad compared to the Honda.
Hi, my name's Jessica Daniel. I'm a Women's A off-road racer here with Dirt Bike Test today. Kawi is the number 4 today on the list. I did really like the high RPM power band. That definitely is identical to the Austrian GasGas KTMs. It allows you to really get a lot of power, a lot of speed out of the motor on the high speed. So with off-road, that would really do well. That would be something that is favorable. The power band is consistent throughout. So I do like how consistent the power band is from bottom end, top end. It was not favorable in the technical riding. I had a little bit of a hard time today going through some of the rocks just with the clutch control and the power band. You know, as soon as the clutch engages, it was a little bit tough to control that straight off the bat without any comfortability or previous experience on the bike. I did stall a few times going through some of the rocks that had a little bit slower speed, but indifferent about the clutch. Definitely. The levers are really skinny. They have a skinny feel. It has a very unique feel to the brake. I didn't really like that too much. I did notice it. The clutch was so skinny, and it wasn't in a way where I thought it made it better. The bike is really lightweight, very easy to handle on the motocross track, very nimble. It just allows you to have that grip between your legs, like squeezing with your knees. Does well in that area. So yeah, absolutely. I think the Kawi definitely shines in the higher RPM range. It definitely at higher speeds. That's where the bike seems to be happy. So in the off-road sense, if you're in that area, it's definitely a bike to consider if you're looking for high speeds and high RPM range.
My name is Stewart. I'm an expert off-road racer here with Dirt Bike Test, testing out the off-road 250s. The final bike, definitely last on the list for a couple different reasons, is going to be the Kawasaki. For me, the Kawasaki was really slow and dead off the bottom end. You really had to work for the power. Once when you had the power and you were twisting the throttle a good amount, the bike was solid. It was actually really fast. The only issue for me was as you approach a turn and you have to let off the throttle, the engine braking was too heavy. I almost felt as if you're dragging the rear brake, or you're having something caught up on your bike. And it just was not comfortable. As you come through, you pull the clutch in, you tap the brake, and you go through the turn. It almost wanted to stall. It just, all momentum's, all RPM's gone, and you're then having to be stuck there restarting everything. And for me, losing that momentum was a struggle, because there I am restarting again, and the lack of power on the bottom end, I wasn't confident hitting some jumps. I really felt as if I would have had to work harder than I needed to be able to clear that jump. And for me, I kind of lost confidence in the bike right away. For the Kawasaki, it's one of those things, the lack of Brembo system and a steel braided brake line, just started losing feeling. A big thing for me on the brake system is going to be the front brake lever. This is no joke. Every time I pulled that front brake in, it took my attention away from riding and what I was doing, just because it's so uncomfortable. Yeah, you're able to buy another brake lever and go to another manufacturer like Arc Lever or ASV. But again, off a showroom floor, it's just annoying. Is what it is. Another thing for me for an off-road bike is going to be the kickstand. For a trail bike or for an off-road bike, it sticks out too far, and it's just one of those details that's I'm not okay with. My riding style, I push on my heels really hard, and with that kickstand, as I push down, it would push the kickstand down. Then there was a couple parts on the motocross track, I felt it drag a roller as I pushed my heels really hard. For that feature, that's an issue. It's one of those things that the other manufacturers think about, and make their product, tight and compact into the bike, and Kawasaki definitely lacked on that. And so, desert bikes or trail bikes, you have to have a kickstand. And if that's one of the things that I'm going to have to be facing, it could turn into a big issue. The suspension on Kawi was pretty decent. Nothing too special. It was comfortable. I feel as if there needs to be a little bit of tweaking in the valving if I'm wanting to push hard. But if you're cruising, having a good time in these rocks or around logs, there was no issue with it. Just a couple clicks on rebound and compression, and you could get yourself pretty comfortable. But on the motocross track, if you're pushing and you're trying to hit big jumps, it's one of those things that there's going to need a lot of work in the valving for your riding style. Another small issue with the Kawasaki is going to be the noises the bike makes, as odd as it sounds. There's a constant ringing sound or a tinging sound coming from the bike. I believe it was a chain roller. Again, it's one of those small little details that get me while I'm riding. It takes my attention away from riding, because it's one of those things, what's coming loose or what am I dragging, when it's really just the chain roller or chain guide. Overall, the Kawasaki was a good bike. My pickiness is it just comes down to my riding style. I think that with certain things that you would have to buy for the bike, it would turn into a really good bike. But off the showroom floor, my riding style is a bit too picky for that.
Hey everyone, my name is Mattoon from Dirt Bike Test, and today we were out here doing a shootout with all the 250F competition off-road bikes. Now moving on to the Kawasaki, like I said, it was kind of a coin flip for me, but what I loved about that bike was as soon as I got on it, I felt so comfortable. It was amazing. The rider triangle was really good on it for me, and the suspension was okay, but it was still good enough for me. I'm just an intermediate rider. I mostly do trails, and it's pretty much what I do, so I would take that bike and have a good time with it. So the map that I rode with it didn't really have a whole lot of bottom end power, and you could kind of lug it. There was some torque there. It was usable at the low end, but really had to ride that bike in the mid to top end for me to have a good time with it. That's at least with the chip that I rode with it. Again, the reason why it lost out to the Honda to me is because it doesn't have the maps you can easily switch.
What's up, guys? My name is Todd Belknap. I'm here with Dirt Bike Test.
I'm a pro level off-road racer, and today we're testing the difference between the multiple brands for 250 off-road dirt bikes. I race more Grand Prix style races on the West Coast, so for me a second pick had to be the Kawi. It's a really good handling bike. You're just naturally on it, or you get very naturally comfortable on it, and it's a good bike from the peg to bar ratio. I really loved it. It corners really well, it handles really well. It could have a little bit better handling in the forks. It's a little stiff and rigid, but the rear end's really good. Only negatives I would give it are the brake levers are really tiny, so it's kind of hard to grab and feels weird to grab, so I'd have a little bit bigger ones than that. And the pipe's really loud and big, so that was a little obnoxious to me, but otherwise from that it was a great all-around bike.